Can we get a motion to accept, are there minutes in it? Yeah, motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
unanimously, sorry, unanimously accepted. Do we have any unfinished business from last month or last quarter?
Yep, you're all caught up.
So why don't we go right into new business, which are the audited financial statements to start with, at least, right, Chris and Brendan?
Yes, I'll defer to Brendan on that. We are done pending, actually, no, everything is done for the audit. There's no open items. So we should be able to go, assuming the board approves everything tonight, we should be able to go final, and we'll definitely be in place for the Paris reporting.
Okay. The always exciting Paris report.
Always.
But required.
Yes,
Ours are submitted, so I know.
we're close.
Excellent.
Chris, did you want to go over any of these financial statements here? I've got them.
Brendan is here from BST.
Okay.
So he'll do the audit committee required presentation and communication with the auditors, or at least I thought I saw him.
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, Brendan, you can go.
Look for the purple glaze, Chris. That's our new
Oh, I see that.
new
Now I see
logo and whatnot. And I don't want to know how much we paid for it, but I'm sure having that little flip up in the corner didn't come cheap. So
Good to go.
we'll walk through the IDA very quickly. Obviously, not a ton here to discuss. Both the IDA and the LDC are relatively small and non-complex entities. We're as the auditors of the town, we're talking with Chris during the year about any activity that may also impact the agency or the LDC. So as it relates to the IDA, our field work commenced at the end of January. Most of the work was done remotely, which is pretty consistent with the way BST has been handling things. We're hoping this year we'll be able to get back into the field with our clients, but a lot of work has been done remotely, and we received the full cooperation of Chris and his team there. The opinion on the financial statements, which can be found just past the table of contents, that's really the only 2 pages of the document that BST owns. The auditor's report included in the draft statements is an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can give you. And in terms of required communications, again, not much to talk about. There were no accounting standards of substance that changed, no new accounting policies, no unusual transactions. There were no audit adjustments, no uncorrected misstatements or disagreements. We're not aware of any consultations per se that we would need to present to you, and no other significant issues or difficulties encountered. So as we sit here today on the 15th of March, we're prepared to issue our opinion as soon as we receive the blessing of the board and the signed management representation letter. BST has completed our work, completed our quality control reviews, and we're essentially complete with the audit. So really nothing of substance to talk about. But if there are any questions, we are, of course, happy to discuss what may be on your mind.
Hey, Chris, I don't remember. Do we do a full board presentation?
No, typically what we do is do it to the audit committee, and then you recommend adoption to the board.
Okay, couldn't remember. Some boards like to see it.
I've given them the drafts. Sent those out last week, so they do have had the ability to review them. And since I basically did them, then I can answer any questions on them. Right. They're in the same format that we've been doing the periodic internal reporting on, so they should be as complete as they're going to be.
Okay, so I'm looking through my agendas. We moving that tonight?
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Great. Alrighty. You guys
So-
can move.
Do we need a motion to move that?
Yeah, why don't we get a motion to move the 2019 audited financial statements?
2020, right?
Yes.
2020, sorry, I shouldn't read.
Yeah, the agenda, just if this is gonna be in the minutes, then the agenda just needs to be updated. So moved.
Second? I'll assume Mr. Carney second.
Yes, go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good work, guys. Just a year behind, that's all.
We're going forwards. We're not going backwards.
I don't know, but that might not be a bad thing. Go back and.
Right, yeah.
I wouldn't mind 2019 again, just skip 2020.
Right.
2019 was a great year.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I could care less how you get out of 2020, even if you have to go back. Sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. All right, you got some more internal controls reports. Or
I'm all those up here.
I don't know who's going to handle that.
Well, here I'm going to bring up here the assessment of effectiveness of internal controls that was prepared. You can see on your screen here the risk exposure for the business functions were low. There are no existing issues identified on the IDA, and you'll see a nearly identical report on the LDC, low risk exposure on our business functions. No existing issues for our internal controls here. Any questions?
No, straightforward stuff.
All right.
Good job,
Then our
guys.
annual investment report. Here's our annual investment report. I think what we were still waiting for was just that interest income.
Yeah, I sent that all
Yeah.
to, I was supposed to send it last week and I forgot and did it this morning for Melissa, so she'll be able to.
Yeah, so I do have those final numbers from Chris, so we'll have that. It was about Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, it was around 500 for the IDA and about
Yeah.
175 for the LDC.
Yes, I'll tell you right now. I can never find the page in the statements.
547.
LDC was 179. IDA was,
547.
thank you, 548.
Uh-oh.
Your internals are off then.
We gotta, well, sometimes, Allison, as you know, you gotta plug a buck
Yes, you gotta
somewhere.
plug
for
it.
That's
round-
right.
Usually
There's
where it
a
goes.
rounding, there's a dollar rounding somewhere.
And I plugged in the interest income and no one has ever found it before until right now. So busted.
Figures.
Yeah. Ugh. How embarrassing.
Leave it to Allison to find it.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Right. So that's right here. You said 548 or 547?
Use 548. That's what's in the statements.
All right.
And we do have, what Chris sent over that'll get attached to the investment report has dollars and cents.
Hey, this is kind of a out of left field question, but does anyone know what similar size IDAs maybe in our area have in investments? Order of magnitude, are we high, low, medium?
I don't know. We typically, I mean, and our investments are literally money market investments. We haven't gotten out into the treasuries and things like that, which we could, but.
Yeah, but even that's limited,
Right.
what we can invest in is very limited.
Basically, everything that we have idle cash, Carm, we put right into the money market and invest it.
Yeah.
We don't keep anything significantly in the checking accounts.
Well, where I'm going with this, Ben probably knows. He probably knows every IDA, across the region and what they have. I mean, this is sort of the business case that we keep making, for more help for you guys in order to get some of the things that, some of the crazy ideas that Peter and me to a lesser degree have been trying to move, which I think are good ideas. And again, I don't want to take 750 down to $100,000. That's for sure. But it doesn't make any sense to me that we don't reinvest this. Frankly, if we reinvested in you guys and staffing, we're reinvesting it in the community.
And I
So
think that's where this year, that's where we're going, getting Sean that additional economic development body
good.
will assist with,
Yeah,
you know,
you can
drawing
only
that
go in
down
three
and
directions
spending it
for
down.
so long.
Carm, we are working through a title description for an economic developer. And so I owe some work back to HR on that write-up before we can move that forward, because we have to run it through the civil service system. Just a little bit of, it's not as easy as posting a job and hiring it.
Right. And then our civil service office is quarantined yet again. So we're
I-
on a 2-week lag there. So
And I'm gonna admit to you that I haven't understood that issue since I come on the board. Probably never will, and probably never need to. It
No.
should-
ultimately, because we're all town employees contracted to the IDA and LDC for the management function. So since the town is required to follow the civil service statute, all the employees have to follow the civil service law to be
Yep.
hired. So
There's several ways to skin a cat, but I won't go down that rabbit hole.
we do it the longest and hardest possible way.
It sounds that way, which is just as I get a little older, I have less and less patience for that. But that's okay. I get it. At least we're moving in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
We're not
But
skipping a year.
But what I'm trying to do here, Carm, I think I mentioned this before, is redirect more opportunities into the LDC, because that provides us the most flexibility to returning that back to the community directly. You know, less so. I think on the IDA, we tend to spend that on staff because there's a very narrow window where we can use that, except to support the town's economic development efforts. But you know, we've got some things moving along. As everybody knows, with the strategy and the marketing and the website. So,
Okay.
all right. I think that's it for your agenda.
I beat that one to death. All right, so that's it for our agenda. Any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjournment?
So moved.
So moved.
Unanimous.
Finance is at 5:30 and about a minute.
Chris, do you need anything from me, or do you want me to stick around, or you're on mute, buddy?
Do that all the time. No, I'm good. I think we're set. I got Carm the representation letter for him to review, so we should have that back to you the next day or so.
Okay,
So
I
we'll
found
get it.
one small typo that I fixed. There was a paragraph where something was plural and it should have been singular, but
Okay.
we'll make sure that's incorporated on the final version here. Okay, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Chris has my contact information, always willing and able to help out with anything as it relates to these two organizations. So thank you very much. And if you have anything else, just let me know.
Thanks, Brendan.
Okay, bye now.
Thank you very much.
All right. Finance committee is at 5:30. It's the same group. Carm, Allison, Gary's not here, and John's the alternate.
Is Gary going to join us, Sean?
I did not hear from Gary. The only person I talked, Eric is out west, so he said if we need him for quorum, to call him at 6 o'clock. But he's not on this committee though.
Do we have anything actionable that we would need him? I mean, we got,
I think we're okay. I think as we get Ben and Pete, we're fine.
okay.
All right, let me pull up the agenda here for you. Oh, I got it. All right, we're all set.
You're up again, Carm.
I'm sorry. I'm multitasking, not very well. Senator Schumer's announcing the transportation money out of the I'm not sure what it's called, CARES 3. So we have to make sure we do the right things. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting of March 15th to order. Finance Committee of the Industrial Development Agency and the Local Development Corporation. Hope everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. We have a quorum. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Allison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Public comments. I don't know if we have any public comments, Sean. Did anybody register? I did register.
Nope, no public registered. So I'll just reflect there's no
Okay.
public here.
New business, we have 3 items, the investment policy, the investment report, and the much awaited procurement policy.
Yep, we don't have any changes to those 2 policies, but just to refresh everybody's memory, I'm going to pull up the investment policy and procurement policy. All right, let's see, the investment policy is revised as of December 31 of 2016. I don't think there's been any changes to that. I don't know if anybody is suggesting any changes at this time. And I'm sorry.
No, but what I will do is I will compare that to the OSC current guidelines. And if needs to be updated, I'll work that up and recommend that for later this year.
If you don't mind, if I put the procurement policy up here out of order. Again, I don't believe there's been any changes at the state level to the requirements for purchases. So that policy remains generally, not generally, but it's completely unchanged.
But help me out, just understand this. We use the town's procurement policy, or do?
Correct.
Okay, so we're basically just adopting the town procurement policy.
Right. And that mirrors that
Mirror.
complies with everything it needs to comply with. So we do so little procurement through the IDA other than professional services and LDC that it's just easier to deal with that. And that way our purchasing officer, Doug Sipple, who is also the town general services officer, is working with the same set of requirements when he's doing anything.
So this gets approved twice, right?
Effectively, yeah, the town approves it and then we approve it.
So this doesn't have a last revised date on it. Have we done any revisions or made any comparisons to the towns recently?
The town, I talked to Doug, there was no update, nothing was needed and updated for 2021. So what we had acted last year is the same.
I think the last time you would have updated this would have been when the state raised the limits on the purchasing thresholds. I think that was the last significant change to anybody's purchasing policy across the board.
Okay.
And then we do have here the annual investment report. Here's for the IDA. That was sent to you all ahead of time. Christy, you want to walk through this?
This is the required Paris reporting. It just basically requires us to say that we've adopted the investment reports and the related guidelines where they are on the website. It's pretty basic and pretty easy. It talks about whether the auditors have reviewed it as part of the audit report. We say they have. As far as the auditors are concerned, the money market is a cash equivalent, not an investment. So although we term it as an investment, they don't. So there is no specific report for it. So we just, say that it's lumped up into their report that way. And there is no management letter comments related to anything.
Chris, is that because of the liquidity of the money market?
Yeah, they typically, they look at investments being, something more than a 90-day maturity. So anything other than that is considered a cash equivalent.
Okay.
We've actually had conversations in the past with Connie on whether we even mark that as a yes or a no when we're doing this, but it's better to have, we felt it was better to err on the side of saying yes, we've at least complied and do the investment report as such.
So you lost me there. So are we going to approve 3 things? The investment policy, the procurement policy? Well, actually 2 things, right?
Right, and then there's actually and I don't know whether Sean, whether does this committee also have to look at the procurement report, or is that a governance committee?
Why don't we look at up here?
Because there's not only procurement policy, but then there's the procurement report of the Paris submission, which goes through various and highlights various policies, purchasing policies. And then we're required to disclose any vendors that we've paid more than $5,000 in a given year, which I think is page 2 of the procurement report. And
I've
this
got
year,
the IDA policy here.
right. So we've got our auditors at 8,500, Barclay Damon at 41,000 and change. I don't remember who else was in there. And the LDC was just Barclay. And then we've got Barton LaJudas for the BOA and Stagnant for Economic Growth for their membership contribution. And then the town for the management fee. And then on the LDC side, it's just Barclay Damon.
So let's try this again then. So we want to advance the investment policy. We want to advance the procurement policy. And you want to advance the procurement report, but we won't get into the details of the report.
Right, and the investment report as well, Carm.
Yeah,
And
and on
actually-
the investment report, Sean, could you also pull up the investment report that gets, not the Paris one, but the other one that gets posted to the website? And that's the one that, the statement that Chris has, it was one of the documents that Sean had circulated. And that's the one that's in compliance with public authorities law. And it attaches the investment policy, the independent audit report, and then the summary of account activity that Chris had prepared.
So finance and audit both advance that policy, Melissa?
No, the investment report just is that's part of what the finance committee is reviewing.
Okay.
All right, I'll try this again. So we're going to advance the investment policy, the investment report. Well, basically, we're going to say that we've reviewed all of these things and we're moving them for formal board adoption. Investment policy, investment report, the procurement policy, and the procurement report.
I believe so.
All right.
Melissa, is there a way to differentiate the annual investment report versus the Paris investment report, since we basically call it the same thing?
Yeah, as in the line item, it all gets covered under the same piece, but there's the annual investment report and then there's the Paris investment report.
Well, yeah, I'm getting a little confused. We don't ask our board to look at Paris submissions. We ask them to approve all of our policies, any changes to the policies, and then what you submit under Paris is minutia. But I'll do it any way you want. So I'm gonna ask for 4 actions: investment policy, investment report, procurement policy, procurement report. I think that's enough detail.
Yep.
You want another one? Give me another one. I think you covered just about everything there. Hi,
So
Gary.
in the reports, seen these drafts, seen these financial reports for Paris, seen with procurement and
Yep.
the investment reports.
I think we got it all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other business to come before the finance committee?
I have none.
Chris has nothing. Okay. John, nothing. All right.
Nope.
Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Unanimous. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. You almost got one by me. Unanimous. See you at 45.
Sean, do we also have governance tonight?
We do,
We do.
Chris,
Yep.
but Right now, it's only me. If John Carney can be the second, we're waiting on either Eric or Peter, or I guess if John and I are together, that's 2 out of 3 if he's the alternate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Eric
Melissa,
is out west still, so he said if we needed him to, he could be available for 6 o'clock, but not for the.
Okay, Melissa, if John's here and he and I are both on that, it's 2 out of 3. That should count as quorum.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. John, we have a light agenda to go.
Okay.
We'll just wait a few more moments to the appropriate time. Hey, Sean, are we back on normal in live as of April 1st? Is that it?
As of April 1st, correct. Yep, we'll be back in town hall.
Okay. I think I'm all zoomed out.
I am too.
What would we do without Zoom, right?
Well, the convenience factor and allow government to continue work and allow the private sector to continue during this pandemic. But I miss being in the public eye and being with my colleagues here. Plus, I've been on Zoom pretty much 7 hours today.
Wow. There's Peter joined us.
Even I'm talked out.
Hang on. That just got by me. Hold on. Did you just say you're talked out?
I said, even I'm all talked out. By
Yeah, I have
time
a
5
que-
o'clock is.
I have a question for you since we have a minute. Do you have any idea of what comparable sized IDAs, LDCs have in their investment accounts? You know, we're looking at about 750,000. Are we high? Are we low? Right in the middle?
I don't know. I don't have a benchmark to go off of.
Okay.
Melissa may know more because she actually serves as counsel to a variety of them. So she may be, since she's going through these parish reports pretty regularly right now, may have an idea for you. If not, I can get that from New York State Economic Development Council.
It was just a curiosity type thing. That no need.
Well, Carm, I can also, when I was, an IDA member over in Gilderland, we kept 5 years of operating revenue on hand. That was our benchmark. But that was because they, there was a long stretch of time when there were no projects to bring in revenue too. So.
Yep. Yeah. Well, this again, as I said earlier, is just me following up on the sort of Peter Carm bandwagon to invest some of this money into staff or consultants that can help staff to advance the mission of the agencies.
Absolutely.
I love that idea. Hopefully Sean will give us an update during the full board meeting of where we are with the economic development position in the town hall.
He gave us a mini update.
Oh, good. So with that, it's 5:45. So we're going to call together the governance committee. Gathering us today is Pete Gaddon's here, and John Carney is going to be acting in his role as the alternate for this committee. I'd like to open up for any public comment. Is there any public on the Zoom today?
No, it's just us today.
Hearing none, we'll move on to our standard order of business. Any unfinished business, Peter or John, you want to bring up from the last meeting?
Not on this end.
Nope, neither do I. So the new business is the board self-evaluations. We asked Sean to put into the Dropbox the self-evaluations of both the IDA and the LDC. He put them up. I think they're separate colors. If you recall, we had 2 different evaluations at the same time. One was the IDA, one was the LDC. The IDA had 5 of us respond. Hopefully we can get the full board to respond at the next self-evaluation. Each of these showed high marks on each of the criteria that we were reviewing. Both of them, there were 3 or above to 5. What was concerning to me though was the LDC version of this. Sean can pull the LDC. While initially the comments were all positive, there seemed to be some individuals on the board who think we need to talk more about our communication, about getting our information to our board earlier, about some of the concerns for policies and laws and practices that showcase that they want to see more earlier, have more opportunity for discussions on LDC issues. I'm not sure if their individuals on the IDA did not respond, had those same feelings, but at our full board meeting, I'd like to open it up and ask if there's any more conversation we can have about having either information provided to the board earlier than the weekend before, or if there's more of a need to discuss some policies, procedures, and communication issues. I do think that this year, with Sean being the new executive director, we've gone above and beyond to get more information, more dialogue, and more outreach. I just like to figure out different ways. Stop right there. Stop. Go back up. Yeah, you see how we have that green bar, number 2? I keep pointing into my screen as if I'm actually controlling this, guys, and I'm not. It's just moving up and down. So that question about sufficient opportunity to research, discuss, and prepare before decisions are made, I'm not too thrilled about that number being a 2. So I want to figure out ways that we can increase that up to the 4 and 5 again, and figure out, is there an issue at hand that has to be addressed? Pete or John, are either of you familiar with or have any feelings towards that? Because that's the number that popped out of me earlier today.
I was going to say it might be me.
I would generally just, it's not a surprising number to me based on, some of the conversations we've had as a group. So yeah, I think it's an area for improvement. And I know, at least from my perspective in the self-evaluation, I don't think I went back and redid the second one. Admittedly, I did 2, and then there was some confusion about them both being for the IDA or something along those lines. But my grades for both were very similar because I think the challenges are similar. So, and I evaluated very tough on it. I think it's easy to fly through one of these things and give all 4s and 5s, but I judged it very critically with the hopes that we could come out of this with a couple of items that we wanted to get better as a board at.
Good. I appreciate that. My concern wasn't the 2. That's always constructive criticism to make us better, which says why the LDC and not the IDA, when the majority of our work is actually in the IDA. So that may be an issue based upon having 2 surveys simultaneously done. I'm not sure where to go to get more information earlier, but I'm definitely open to any opportunity we have to communicate more, to get better discussion and better research. I think we made strong inroads on our last 2 meetings by requesting Sean to prepare a staff memo on each of the projects coming before us. That gave us as board members more information to base our decisions on. So I think going forward, that's a positive step.
Hey, it's a give and take. I hope no one takes this as, criticism. This is a way to get better.
Correct.
But we can't have Sean and Melissa running around with their hair on fire before every meeting, trying to squeeze in every developer that says, I have to have this in front of the board today or tomorrow. It just can't be that way. We just won't be good at what we want to do if that's how we're going to do business. So sometimes when you reset the bar, you tick people off along the way. But after a while, if you train people that this is how this high performing IDA operates, they'll come around. But you're going to have some transition time. But there's no finger of blame here. But it's frustrating when the afternoon of a meeting or the day before a meeting, you get stuff and you by the time you get to the meeting, you just don't feel prepared. So you sit there and you keep your mouth shut because you don't want to embarrass anybody.
Well, we passed a resolution over a year ago, and I think we've done it twice so far since I've been on the board, having a cutoff date of 10 days prior to the meeting to get us the applications. And I don't know offhand if it was 7 or 10 days. We can go back to our minutes and find that. But we had a cutoff date so that staff had time to get us the materials so we can make informed decisions. And I don't know where that went, but I want to get that back into our standard operating procedures.
I think what happens here, and we can tighten this down. In fact, I did get an application last week. You don't have that before you because there's not enough time for us to prepare. But I think what happens here is that Melissa and I do get an application as part of our due diligence. We're going back and forth and back and forth. So, we can tighten that down and let people know that it's a hard number. I've done the same thing in terms of managing the planning department. The staff know that they have to have projects 2 weeks in advance, and we have a whole timeline for where materials need to be. So we can implement the same here. I have no problem at all doing that. I think the catch is we try to develop those policies and practices for aid 80%, 90% of the time. And so there are some times where when they come through like that, timing is of the essence issue.
Well, Sean, prior to this year, we were doing 6 meetings a year and then calling extras when necessary. So developers and projects may have felt an increased pressure to get it to us before that meeting because it may mean a 60-day delay. But I think this year we have a monthly calendarized schedule, which allows us the flexibility to cancel if we don't have any pressing business. So I think the schedule where the applicants can be adjusted appropriately, because we need to have more time to review these. You have to have more time to get us the information necessary.
Yeah, and I thank you for entertaining my suggestion that we had that meeting on every month. And just saw last month we didn't have anything, so we just spent with the meeting. So I think that'll certainly help. But getting back to the applicants and making sure that they're well aware of the hard deadlines, we'll keep pushing that. So
those are 2 things we made. I don't want to call it resolutions, but we made motions on last year. One was that. The other one was ensuring that as part of the application process, they reached out to the schools before they got to us. We didn't want to have to delay it because they didn't get back to us on that. Those are 2 things we brought up this year, plus the calendar. So those 3 items should help get us applications enough in advance that we can all do better research on it. Those are good things to bring up. Were there anything else on the self-evaluation, Sean, that jumped out at you?
No, I think that's it with some of the lower ratings. I think a suggestion I'd make to the board too is that, the end of each year, I think it'd be a good opportunity for the group to get together for a training session. It's not an open meeting, right? I believe, Melissa, we can do training, not in an open format, one evening during October or so. I think that'll allow the board to get together to discuss hypotheticals without setting policy.
That's a good idea.
Questions.
All right. The second thing we want to chat about is the parish report. I know that both the other 2 committees have gone over the parish reports. We've had them in our box. Do you want to pull the parish report up, Sean, and share it with the subcommittee?
Yep, it's in different pieces. So let's see if I can.
We have to look at the assessment of the active projects.
Yeah, let me pull that one up. I think that's the easiest one for us to take a look at right now.
I know we're going to have further discussion during the full board meeting on the PVA project, but there are some questions on the PVA project and the accomplishments.
So you saw in the annual assessment report, we've got 7 projects with questionnaires received. We're still working on 1 more. It's not unusual in the past to have 1 or 2 stragglers here, so we will finish that up. They made them well aware that they need to get this completed. But if there's any outstanding questions, generally overall, our projects are in good shape. They're either progressing towards their employment requirements in the agreement. There's no project that has exceeded its sales tax benefit limit. Projects have generally met their investment requirements, or they're progressing towards their investment requirements. So there are no outliers out here that we have to address per se. Ben did raise the question of 1 Mustang Drive. That was a bond refinance in 2017. That has a 5-year timeline. That's November of 2022, that project would term. And so with PVA announcing and going through the process of relocating to Half Moon, we have made them aware that they are falling short of their 5-year commitment to the IDA. And that we are asking for them to respond to their plans to address the benefits that were provided to the IDA, even though they haven't met the 5-year goal here.
What is our recourse? What's our clawback on those?
Melissa, do you want to?
Yeah, the financial assistance that 1 Mustang received back in 2017 was the issuance of the tax exempt bonds, as well as the mortgage recording tax exemption on a $5.185 million mortgage. So that was approximately $51,000 of mortgage recording tax exemption in addition to the issuance of the bonds. So Sean has an inquiry into One Mustang to confirm that they intend to redeem the bonds, given that they'll no longer be occupying the facility and they were manufacturing facility bonds. So we're confirming that, and then the board, this project came refinanced after the implementation of your standard project agreement, and so the project agreement provides that the IDA has the right to recapture in the event that the project is terminated before the end of that 5-year period, or the job creation. The job commitment isn't met for that 5-year period. So now that it's become public knowledge, and once we get the date, then we'll be able to bring it back to the board for you to review whether you want to recapture some, or, in light of the facts and circumstances, and in light of the factors that you'll have to consider under the project agreement, whether you want to consider recapturing all or a portion of the mortgage recording tax exemption. And I understand that Sean has, as one of the pieces that he reached out to One Mustang on was for to solicit information from them that the board can consider when determining whether to do any recapture.
Okay, thank you. What other active project questions do we have? The one that's missing is the Desmond, correct?
That's right. Yep, we're still missing a report from them.
And when are they going to get it to us?
I have not heard back. I've reached out to them, I think it was 3 times. And Melissa contacted their counsel that they worked with on the closing. Their counsel reached out, went back to them, and also reminded them of the need to complete this report too. So we don't.
And I apologize for not knowing this and not remembering this, but is there a clause in our contract with applicants that says they have to respond to us within 30 days of the request in November?
I won't speak to it. I can't remember off the top of my head directly in the contract language, but as an exhibit in the contract, they are provided with a template for the reporting where it does indicate that they have 30 days to return. The dates are blank, but it does show, it does show them that they have 30 days to return that questionnaire back to us. And when we send this questionnaire back out, it does come with that same caveat. We sent it on January 27th with a 30-day return. And then after that, if they fail to respond, the board has its right under their recapture policy to address their to address them.
Not that I want to recapture it today, but it's just, this is an annual problem. It's I'm very impressed they only have 1 right now. Normally we used to have 4 or 5. So this is much improved, but I still want to make sure that they fully understand that they have to comply to keep their money. Okay. Any other questions that the governance committee has on this report?
Yeah, I know it's late, but do we want to talk about the PVA thing at the board meeting, or do we want to take it offline? I mean, it's like more than annoying.
Yeah. And
frankly, same with the Desmond. They ran in here with their hair on fire, and they can't even complete a questionnaire.
I'm with you, Carm. That's why I brought it up. I can't understand people who get our money can't give us back to 1 page.
Yeah, our project's in the toilet without you guys. It's basically what they said. And now recently they're announcing all the great things that they've done. Anyway.
Well, it's a good point. It's a good point, and Sean, I'm sure you'll follow up with that on Monday or so, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if we're in the same position come April, then I think we start going after them.
Yeah.
Because I think if you don't take real action, nobody's going to take it seriously.
Agreed.
Well, the board went on the line for these guys. They came to us. If it wasn't for you, I can't get this done. I need it now. I'm the crown jewel of the Capital District. I'm millions of dollars behind now due to COVID. I need you, or we can't do this project. So we step up and help them, and they just give you lip service.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll give it 1 more week, and if we don't hear from them, we'll send certified letters.
Perfect. And we can tell them they're in violation of their contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that normally gets somebody to notice it. All right. Now, the last thing we have.
Sean, just given our timetable for April 1st, can we look at moving that certified letter up to like the end of this week.
Absolutely.
Give, especially, of course, given the mail, how well the U.S. mail is working.
Absolutely.
If you want, I'll send the bus over. We can hand deliver it.
Legal service.
Send up the bus, Carm.
I mean, I think
thing-
I agree with Sean. If you let these things go, a little problem, becomes a bigger problem. And after a while, you feel a little like, a thank you would have been nice. Never mind, answer the survey.
Questions?
Well, on the thank you part, Carm, we've also been not very good at being invited to any of the grand openings or shovels in the ground for any of these projects that have gotten our funding. They all come to us again saying, but without your help, I can't do this. But I mean, I've been here apparently very long, and I have not noticed one grand opening or groundbreaking that the IDA has been made aware of and has been part of the process with that golden shovel. I mean, John should be going to them all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, Ben.
tell
There's
you.
been a couple, but it's far and few between. You're correct.
But back to PVA just for a minute. I mean,
Yes.
take our money and then, I'm out of Dodge because I got a better deal in Half Moon. And, hopefully it looks like Sean will be able to sort of reconfigure so we're no worse for the wear. But boy, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth, if you ask me. And Tony Hines is a good guy. He's built a great business there, but I don't know. That's.
And using
Well, I'm
ID
sure he made a decision based upon the space that he needed, but he owes us, he's now in violation of the 5-year recapture. And Sean will work with him to get some funds back to us so we can relend or reloan to town and colony people who want to invest in the town.
Yeah. If I could, Melissa, I know we were talking about the repayment, who that goes to. Does that go back to the county or does that go directly to the IDA?
Sean, I'll need to research that
Okay,
when we get to that point as to where that money.
Yeah, we were talking about that today. It was an answer that either of us had off the top of our head because I don't think clawbacks are not a common thing that either of us have had to deal with. So, but we'll look at it. I think initially, I think something that's reasonable is at least a prorated return on the benefit received. I don't
Correct.
think and having the conversations. I don't want to disclose too much publicly because I think there's a level of confidence that we have to have conversations with our business owners, but I'm happy to answer questions, offline, one-on-one. But I don't think this was I think like Ben said, this is a situation where they had a need in terms of space and an opportunity came along to allow them to address that need and continue growing. They're not turning their back on Colony. It's just they've had to pivot a little bit, and the opportunity to remain in town didn't exist because we just didn't have an inventory of space that met their needs immediately. And that's not an uncommon issue we're dealing with right now. The space, that type of space is a sweet spot for, it's in demand, and then we just don't have it.
Well, I'm sure you'll negotiate a good clawback. I think they're the first one since we had the ABO report 5 years ago that mentioned that we should put clawbacks in our contract. So this is your test.
Looking forward to it.
And the last thing we have to go over is the governance committee's the mission statement and performance measures report. That was also in the Dropbox that Sean provided last week.
On it up for you now.
And I know we're running a little over the time before the full committee meets, but the full board meets.
Got your LDC report here. Give me a second.
Yep.
I'm pulling up your idea.
And the other one was the IDA report. I read both reports. I didn't have any questions on the reports. But I'll open up to Peter or John if you had any questions on the reports.
None from this side.
I hit the mute button just in time to spare you that inquiry from my child who needs assistance in the bathroom. No, I have no questions on the report.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
In 10 minutes.
I'm shocked it took that long.
Oh, all right. With that, is there any other questions of the committee? If not, we'll adjourn the committee and move on to the full board. I will adjourn the governance committee and turn it back to John to initiate the or commence the full board meeting.
Okay, we ready to go, Sean?
We are.
Okay, well, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:08. We're a little bit late. We ran over on our committee meetings, but a lot to accomplish here. And board, I think we have everybody except Eric. Is that correct, Sean?
That looks to be, yes, it's John, Ben, Peter, Allison, Carm, and Gary. You got
Okay.
myself, you got Chris, and Melissa. And yeah, Eric said he's out west, but if we needed to, we could call me. He would jump in, but we're good.
Okay, good. And I don't know if anybody has joined us for public comment.
No
I don't
public
see
service
anybody.
announcements here.
Okay. All right, and so with that, we'll go to approval of the minutes. I hope everybody had a chance to review. If there's any questions or additions, deletions, if hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Peter, second by Ben. And just want to welcome anybody that might be virtually joining us, and just say that between Sean and Melissa and Chris, we had a lot of reports to do with the ABO, and so hopefully everything's up to date with that. And I'm hoping that next month we can have an actual meeting, live meeting, instead of doing this on Zoom. Everybody's indicated they're getting a little tired of these Zoom meetings. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Sean to provide us with his report.
Well, thank you, everybody. Today is an exciting day here in the town because all of our staff is back in every single day, which is a big deal. Because for the past 3 months, it's been like Groundhog's Day every day. Go home, come back in, it's like a restart. So we're gonna have some good traction moving forward. I want to share with you some of the progress we've had in the interim. Some of you have been able to talk to the folks at Colonie 310, who's preparing our strategy. I reached out to a couple others. They're looking for a couple more voices. I hope you'll find a little bit of time to do that. I believe I sent out a survey, but now I'm starting to wonder whether or not in the crush of questionnaires and surveys to the board, this was one that got missed. So after this meeting, I will send us a reminder out. Colonie 310 did send a brief survey as part of their strategy work to get things together. I want to thank those of you that responded to the survey on the marketing and website work that we're doing. I did provide that final feedback out just recently to Braun Media, who's working on that. So we're looking forward to seeing what they come back with. Other than that, like I said, I'm excited to be back in the office every day and not working up a 13-inch screen on the in-between days. Not too much. I'm just looking around in town. There's some things, we talk about reinvesting in that as we wrap up a couple of projects. I want to bite off more than we can chew, that I hope you'll entertain moving forward. Some opportunity. I am going to have a discussion with the University at Albany, their Director of Economic Development, about the potential that may exist along the Fuller Road corridor and Railroad Avenue. I think he and I are of a similar mindset. I think some of the board as well, that there's some real untapped potential that exists there in the connection with the university and what happens there. So yeah, lots of things to think about, lots of things to work on. And the last update is I do have some new information from Crisafulli Associates. They did, remember, back in January, come to the public comment period to introduce their project. So if you have some other, feedback you'd like to just talk to me offline about, or questions about that project, but he'd like to continue to advance that. I don't think that there was anything said at the meeting that suggest to him that he doesn't move forward, but I think some do have some questions. I did provide him the project selection criteria and asked him to ensure that he fully responds to that. That's always a hard thing. It's for some reason to chase down, but that's one of the first things I got back in. So perhaps we'll see that back in April. Any questions?
No, but Sean, if you can send that survey back out, I'd appreciate it.
We'll do. The other update, I didn't mention it, John, is that we are working on the economic developer position here to, add additional staff support for the IDA. And that's like I said, a little bit of a process between human resources and civil service, because the expectation and the plan is that the position will be hired by the town, and that the management agreement between the IDA and the town would compensate for that. So we do have to live within the bureaucracy of municipal government.
Okay, any other questions?
That alone is a huge step forward, something we've been talking about probably for 6 years. So thank you for shepherding that through.
Glad to. Thank you.
Anything else for Sean? Okay.
Can you chat about the business reviews discussion today about the potential new tenant over at One Mustang?
Sure. The planning board released its agenda today, and right on top of that is the business review, who reported that Amazon is planning to come to One Mustang Drive to fill the space that PVA is leaving for, and its relocation to a smaller space in Half Moon, a much more open space, I guess, a much more open floor plan. So we do have Amazon coming into that facility. It's obviously a change of use and a change in the type of jobs that exist. The committee meetings, there were some discussions about that project, but that's where we are right now. I don't have the file in front of me to tell you how many vehicles will be on the site, which would be a strong indication about the number of jobs that will be there. But it's significant. I'll say it's significant for sure.
And the good news to that is that it's additional jobs that into the area. PVA moving 10 miles up the road they're going to keep their employees. Mm-hmm. So this is additional jobs, not just simply a swap.
Yeah, I think and those of you all know my background as more of a regionalist. There's nothing directly lost, because the jobs aren't leaving the region; they're moving 10 minutes up the road. There's something lost in the town in terms of the type of job and quality of job. We're getting let's just put it this way: we're getting a different type of job, manufacturing versus distribution. So we're getting a different quality and type of job. But again, the ability to keep that company in the area just 10 minutes up the road, while it still stings a little bit, in terms of personal pride to not be here in Colonie. At the same point, I will say that we, and it was a project that the IDA saw in a public comment period, rock crawler suspension. They've come here without any IDA benefits, and they're actually up and running on Old Albany Shaker Road, so in the old Safeway building. So there's in some way there's some trade-offs here and there, and that's a light manufacturing operation that are very good paying jobs. So yeah, there's sometimes just a little reshuffling within the region, but our bigger goals are to always attract new investment into the town.
The only unfortunate part from my perspective is Amazon continues to locate, in suburban areas away from infrastructure that they badly need, like transit service. Because, those jobs, although attractive, these are not the same type of jobs that we're losing, and people need, our services. But, Mustang Drive is at the outer reaches of our service network. It's the same thing in their major facility out in Skodak. And now they cycle back and are looking for us to help them. All they did is triple the cost of us to help them. So,
more need for the buses, Carm.
Well, there's more need for the buses, John, but they're locating off our network, which makes it very expensive, if not impossible, to help them. So you give them all the parking spaces in the world, but I'm not sure that those are the types of jobs that necessarily are going to, look at, one for one. Good transit service would have been a big help there.
Yeah.
But we'll take it.
Yeah.
Fully agree. I think they were. Hey, Sean, weren't they originally looking at the Village of Colonie at the old Duravan site, and that got pulled, and that was going to be easier for CDTA since it's right on Route 5. But
I don't
All
know.
that on that one?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first, I mean, I think the business review said they're up to the 4th or 5th location for Amazon. I don't remember if the Durban one was this project or if it's the final mile facility that's located just over in the post office industrial park off of Carner.
Okay,
They are over there doing final mile delivery of bulk goods, and I think that project,
that one was their event.
that was the Durban project that came over and around, because this one came up only about last summer, from what I understand, when they reached out to PVA about the space.
Okay, well, thank you.
Is there going to be any traffic concerns about this? Is this going to be able to go through?
I'm sorry, Gary, I didn't hear.
Is there going to be any traffic concerns relative to this?
We're going to need to look at the traffic for sure. That's going to be on the planning board's list of items. You know, they do operate similar to, you know, FedEx and UPS, where the shifts start in different waves. So that way you're not flooding the site all at once with traffic, but the drivers are going to come and go in waves throughout the day.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Plus, that's kind of a central location. And if you look going north up in the Clifton Park in that area too, it's, as far as distribution for them is concerned. But whatever, we'll find out. Sean, one other thing, if you don't mind, if you take a second or two to bring everybody up to speed on that Tobin packing site, if there's anything new on that.
Yeah, I got to check with the building department to see if those permits have been issued. I was over there last week in my my regular tours around town. You can't plan or be an economic developer behind a desk all day, so there's a lot of days where I take lunch on the road. I did take a drive over. I don't see any activity yet, but I do know that they had some interior remediation work to do. I can check and update the board via email if they've gotten those permits yet, but I know that was something they were working on. It was not something that they anticipated. They thought that they did not need to pull demolition permits. It was a misreading of the local law that establishes the joint planning and zoning conditions over there. It was that the demolition didn't need to be reviewed by the planning board, but they still need to take their necessary permits for disconnects and the like.
Okay, good. Anybody else have any questions for Sean? Okay, hearing none, we'll bring our CFO, Chris Kelsey, up to bat.
Remember to unmute tonight. I provided everyone earlier this morning the internal financial statements through today, March 15th. The IDA currently has about $1.35 million in cash. Again, minor receivables from our BOA grant. Actually, I was going to ask Sean about that. Maybe he can give us an update as to that funding stream. Some prepaid items are land over on Maxwell Road, and then Sean had purchased a laptop for use last year that we're depreciating. Some accrual for legal bills through the end of the year, and then a net position of $1.39 million. The operating results for so far through March 15th, we've had one project closed at $55,000, which is the Lincoln Development Project. Most of the balance of everything is just standard operating costs, and then you can see down under the COVID grants, we have $42,000 dispersed on that. Roughly $45,000 to date since 2020 for a total of 6, 5 COVID grants this year and 2 COVID grants last year, so 7. And that's about all she wrote for the IDA through March 15th. The LDC is even less, has even less activity. The only activity it has is paying for operating costs for the annual audit fees. It's currently sitting on roughly $250,000 in cash and an equivalent amount in fund balance or net position. That's all for the finance report.
Any questions for Chris?
If I could, I'll just respond to Chris about the BOA. we had some expenses that were above and beyond, and we did not get a full reimbursement from the state because of timing issues. I did go back to the consultant and ask them to write those expenses off, so the IDA was not incurring additional costs for work that was done outside the contract. They've done that.
Sean, any estimate on the timing of that last bit of money from the state, when you think it'll come in?
Everything we've got in is all we're getting in.
So the 6,500 or the 6,400 that's there is from the state, because they still didn't pay out the 266.
Right, that last bit that was left on the table was because when Barton LaJudas submitted, they submitted for dates after the contract.
Right, but we still haven't received the full 266,000 under the grant yet.
Right, and we're not going to, because of the way the expenses worked out. So Barton LaJudas wrote off the balance of what we owed them.
So we won't be seeing that receivable $6,500.
Right, we're not going to see that
at all, even though it was approved under the grant.
Right, because the way that grant worked was a reimbursement basis, and when they went to submit when they submitted the backup, their invoice said one date, their backup.
Right. So then we wrote. You and I can have a discussion after off the fact, but with that may change the draft audit statements that are in here tonight for approval. That we would probably, if we're not going to collect that receivable, we should remove it from the 12/31/20 statements.
Okay. Yeah, we're not going to see that after going back and forth with the state. We thought there was an error on their end. It turned out to be an error on the consultant's end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions for Chris? Or okay, Melissa, anything you need to add, or did we miss anything? Or
No, nothing to add on that front. Thanks.
okay, good. All right, so with that, we'll go to our committee reports, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Carm.
Thanks, John. The audit committee met at 5:15 today. We have a couple of action items for you to consider. Our external auditor presented the 2020 financial statements. The agenda has a typo. We tried to actually skip 2020 and go back because it was such a lousy year, but it's the 2020 financial statements. The committee reviewed them. We find everything to be in order. Both agencies are in really good shape, and we would like to move the financial statements for adoption.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by Ben, second.
I'll second.
Allison, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Sort of allied with that, we also looked at in our internal controls for both agencies. And basically there we're looking to make sure that the internal controls are indeed effective and useful, and that they're applicable to what staff is doing and how the organization is structured. And we found those to be in order, and the committee recommends those for adoption or approval.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Allison, second. Ben, all in favor?
Sure. Aye.
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 And the third of our, these are all annual reviews and annual actions. We looked at our investment report. We talked earlier, we were just talking about the investments. We looked at the report, what is available, and how actually we kind of veered off and talked about how we would use some of that accrued income over time, and how it'll make us better, make the staff better, and ultimately make town development better. So we recommend that the full board adopt the investment report for 2020.
I ask for a motion.
I'll move that forward.
Ben, second. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Carmen, you're up again now with the.
Yeah. The Finance Committee met right after the Audit Committee at 5:30. Those two committees are pretty much aligned, and you'll see with the action items a lot of similarity. We're going to actually have 4 action items, and we're going to bundle them together. So the first policy that we reviewed and we're recommending, there were no changes of any significance to the investment policy. So we're asking for a motion to approve the investment policy for the organizations.
I'll move.
Allison, second. Ben, all in favor?
Aye.
And then allied with that, we received a report on our investments, balances, and what the yield was over the past year. And we recommend approval of the investment report.
Motion on that one?
So moved.
Allison, second. Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The third action item is the procurement policy. Just a note here, procurement policy basically mirrors the town's. We use the town's procurement policy, and it's adapted for the agencies, but essentially it's the town procurement policy. So it's a double approval, so to speak. No changes of any significance to the policy this year, and we recommend approval of the procurement policy.
Could I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Allison again, second.
Second.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And just like the investment policy, the procurement policy had the annual report of procurement. Procurements over a certain threshold were made known to the committee and to the board, and we recommend that report for approval.
And a motion for that?
So moved.
Allison, second. Peter? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And that concludes my report on the Finance Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Carm. Good job. And we'll move into governance. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Governance Committee met right after the Finance Committee, right around 5:45. The first item for discussion is the board evaluations. This is not an action item to be voted on, but a discussion point here. Earlier in the year, Sean had sent out our board evaluations, which again are annual reviews internally as to our practices versus best practices. I thank everyone for participating and providing the information, both the IDA and the LDC. And there's one area that was highlighted that's for self-reflection that we've already started to address as a board, but I want to bring it up here, and that is getting information to the board members earlier and working with our applicants to ensure that they give our staff enough time to do the research and to provide staff memos. What we started this year was requesting our CEO and our staff and Melissa to work together to provide as much documented information on each project so the board had more information to make decisions of. One area that we have felt is challenging to us is getting information at the last minute, forcing our staff to scramble at the last minute, and sometimes putting us at the pretty much at the apex of having to make a project go or not go with limited information. So what we have done already is begun the process of pushing that back. We adopted a resolution last year, setting a date of 10 days prior to the board meeting. We've added additional days to our calendar to make it a monthly meeting so that businesses knew and developers knew and that they didn't have to rush in a project selection information to us at the last minute. So we giving them monthly opportunities to talk with us. We've also asked our CEO to begin sharing information as early as he can with the process, whether it's planning board applications or whether it's just simply, hey, we've been discussing this particular project, here's a heads up. Just so the board members here at the IDA and LDC have adequate time to do research, to discuss the project and bring good questions to bear at the meetings. So that's pretty much our self-evaluation so far. If there's any questions or comments or discussion from the full board, now's the time to talk about it. Hearing none, I think almost the entire board was present at the subcommittee. So we're going to move on to the 2 action items that we have to do, our annual parish reporting. The first item is to review the active projects. We did so at the governance committee and recognized that all of our projects that we work with has provided adequate information to us about one. I know that Sean is working and Melissa's working to get that last applicant to give us their annual information. One of the discussion points during the committee was to whether or not the applicants knew they had to provide the information within 30 days. And Sean had mentioned as part of that contract with us that when the town requests this information on jobs and the annual updates as to success, we need that within 30 days. The last project will get it to us hopefully before April 1st. And we've asked Sean and Melissa to send a certified letter requesting that data. Besides that, all of our projects that are currently working with us have met their criteria and created the jobs that they were supposed to create. There was one project, one Mustang Drive, that is leaving the town of Colonie as it expands north. And we've asked Sean to review their contract, make contact with that developer or that project owner to see what kind of opportunities are to claw back using our clawback provisions. Some of the resources back to the IDA that are provided, we gave them a 5-year limit. They only made almost 4 years. So there's some opportunity for us to talk with them about some adjustments or changes that are required. Any questions or comments on the report as is? And then the second item for action, where we'll put them both together, is the mission statement and performance measures report. Again, the governance committee met and accepted both of those documents and putting forth all 3 to the full board for review and consent.
Any questions? Okay, I'll ask for a motion on both reports there.
Make the motion.
Peter, second.
I'll make the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah,
Okay.
and with that, the governance committee business is complete.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ben. Good report from both Carm and Ben. So thank you, guys. Any unfinished business that we have? Sean or Melissa?
No, none on my end.
No, okay. Hearing none, new business. Any new business?
Yeah, we have 2 items here on the agenda for tonight: the annual assessment of active projects and a review of reports and any input from effective taxing jurisdiction on the uniform tax exemption policy. If I could take them out of order. On the UTEP, we have not received any feedback on that.
Actually, Sean, just to point, this was a carryover from last year. There have been no changes to the UTEP. So at this point, it's just the IDA has before it the resolution that adopts the various reports that the various committees have recommended to the full board for adoption.
All right. And so we have the annual assessment of active projects, though. And so that was in your packet here. As Ben noted, we did have one outstanding from the First Colony Company. And if we don't hear from them by the end of the week, we will send a certified letter to get their attention on that. So hopefully that's a moot point by that point. Overall, all of our companies are performing as anticipated. They're either have met their goals or they're progressing towards their employment or investment goals. None of the businesses have reported exceeding their sales tax benefits, so everything appears to be in order.
Okay. Anything else, Sean?
Not at this time. That's all I've got for you tonight.
Okay, good. Okay, everyone. Well, when the next meeting, we're set for April. Is that right, Sean? And hopefully it's going to be a live get together.
That's right. We're supposed to get together again in April. Just looking at the calendar here. April 19th is our next meeting.
Oh, good. Looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
And before we
Hopefully a little
adjourn,
bit warmer.
Sean, could you pull up the resolutions to be
Oh,
adopted that are the final board action with respect to the various reports?
I'm sorry, Allison, what was that? Or Melissa?
Oh, I was just asking Sean to pull up, the final item for action by the full board is just the adoption of the resolution
Oh, okay.
regarding the various reports that the committees had presented this evening.
So we need a motion on that, Melissa? Yes, for a motion?
Yes, yes, for a motion.
What is
So
it?
moved.
Hang on, go ahead and go to a second, then I'll ask my question.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, go ahead, Carm.
But my question is, what is it that we're voting on?
This is the resolution. So as the committees presented their various pieces, the board accepted the recommendations, and now this is just the resolution that documents for the record that the board has reviewed the various reports and authorizes posting and submission to the ABO.
So the prior action was the accepting of the report from the committee, and now this is the formal approval of everything.
So a resolution to accept the resolutions. Not to be difficult. Bureaucracy is not my middle name.
No, I know that, Carm. Keep the buses rolling.
Well, you wouldn't, well, never mind.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I abstain?
Sure.
I abstain.
Okay.
Who was the mover and who was the seconder? I didn't see.
I
I think I
Ben-
moved it.
Ben made the move and who seconded?
I second.
Al,
Allison seconded. Okay,
all right.
okay. And it was moved and approved.
In the future, Melissa, if we have to pass this resolution, then next year we don't have to approve after every committee meeting.
Yeah, you could just have the committee make their recommendations and then hold for the end if you prefer.
Thank you, Ben. That's kind of my point. I'm not trying to be difficult, but why did we just do what we just did?
All right.
That's a good point, Carm.
That's all I've got for you tonight.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll ask for adjournment and look forward to see everyone in the near future.
Sounds
Have a
good.
motion. Good.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, everyone. Be careful, stay safe.
Good night.
Bye now.
Good night.